Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking On Bruce Boys podcast. Notre Dame just wrapped up their 90-64 win against Chaminade. Still haven't learned how to say their name, and I probably will not learn it anytime soon, so don't rely on that. We probably won't hear much about them for the rest of the year, though, but Notre Dame came out early, and this looked like it was going to be an absolute snoozer. Brutal first half overall. Came out flat, couldn't defend, had no energy. That building was completely empty, and Notre Dame was playing like it. They just couldn't pull away, couldn't get any energy going. But eventually started to get some things rolling in the second half. By some things, I mean they were unbelievable. Started on a 21-0 run in the first half, and Chaminade put up 26 points in the entire second half. So Notre Dame scored 21 consecutive, and their opponent scored 26 total in the second half. So that tells you all you need to know about the second half, but I'll tell you more. Notre Dame just started much better. Defensive intensity was so much better. Offense looked better, and we'll get into everybody offensively later because there's a lot to talk about there. But even the energy on the bench was a lot better. Guys were getting up. The bench mob is back for Notre Dame. They got a deep bench this year, and they got some good personalities on there. So finally got to get a look at the bench mob when Notre Dame's hot, and hopefully we get to see it a lot more. But overall, they just looked a lot better, and ended the game super hot. It seemed like they couldn't miss when the starters were in towards the last couple minutes that they were in. So hopefully they can carry that momentum into tomorrow. And thought the end of the bench guys looked pretty good. Sucks that we didn't get to see Alex Wade. He's kind of that odd man out, but as he gets older, he will be in at the end of the game and maybe get some meaningful minutes at some point. But we're not here to talk about Alex Wade. Wanted to touch on some of the bench guys. JR had a nice take, finished strong. Elijah Taylor finished strong around the rim. And these guys were in for like 3 minutes, so you can't take too much from it. I'm still relying on high school tape for them. But it was just good to see them. I thought they should have been in earlier. For some reason they weren't. But Notre Dame, I thought, was really good in that second half. The second half was almost good enough for me to forget about the first half. And if I almost forgot about it and how I felt in that first half, then I think the general public and Notre Dame's fan base will not be hanging this over their heads based on the second half. Going into some key performers, Dane Goodwin is my number one guy. I thought he was Notre Dame's best player tonight. 17 points, 7 of 11 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, and just had probably his best all-around performance of the year. He hasn't really finished a game this year. He had 10 points last night, none of which were in the second half, and all of which were really early on in the game. But I just thought Dane was really good tonight. Didn't think the defense was great. Thought it was okay. But if he's playing like that offensively, you don't need him to be a high-level defender. Blake Wesley is my second guy, 14 points, 6 of 12 shooting. Really was the spark Notre Dame needed towards the end of the first half, and really contributed in the second half as well. Had his career high in rebounds with 6. Really good to get guards contributing on the boards. Dane Goodwin had 3, Cormac had 3, Hub had 3, and Blake had 6. So it's just good to see everybody kind of chipping in on the boards because that could be an issue later in the year. But Blake, I thought, was good, showed why he has drawn such high praises. But I'd like to see it against a good team, and we'll have that opportunity tomorrow against the middle of the pack SEC team with some athletes. They're going to need Blake for that game if they want to win that game. But another contributor there's 2 more who actually had pretty good games. Cormac Ryan shot 100% from the field, 5 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, with 11 points. He was quiet tonight, but, I mean, if you're shooting 5 for 5, 100% from the field, and you score double digits, I'll take that all day. Notre Dame had 6 guys in double figures. Obviously, that number's skewed because of garbage time, but the 2 biggest guys who I thought garbage time was good for was Nate and Prentice. Been talking about, I feel like, for weeks now. It's only been like 2 weeks, but I feel like I've been talking about forever. Can Nate get going? Can Prentice get going? And I thought Nate got going toward this game, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3-point range. Just looks so much more confident than he has in the last few games. Looked like he was really letting it fly. and the stats reflect that. I think that this will be kind of the breakthrough game for him. They're still going to have to find a role for him, but he's going to be they're going to need Nate to do stuff like this if they want to be a good team this season. And another guy who they're going to need, Prentice Hub, looked lost in the first half, looked lost at the start of the second half, but Notre Dame made their big run when Prentice wasn't on the court for a good amount of it at least. But Prentice, I thought it was good for him to see the ball go through the net a few times late in the game. Got to the rim, which we haven't seen too much from him. I wouldn't put too much into that. It's a D2 team, but finally saw a three go through, transition three, which is what we've seen from him so much in the past, and it was great to finally see one this year. So I think Prentice can really carry that momentum into some other games this year, and hopefully one of those games is tomorrow, and it seems like it should be. So good to see that from Prentice. Trey Wurtz, I thought was meh, 2 for 7, 2 for 5. He's just one of those guys you don't really notice a whole lot. It's like Trey Wurtz, he's okay. He's not their star this year. Obviously, he's coming off the bench as a senior. So Trey Wurtz is a great role player. I think he'll have his moments, just hasn't had one this year. I wouldn't say he's on the hook for a good performance like Prentice or Nate was, but he is due for something soon, and I think we'll be talking a lot more about him as we get on through the season. He'll be a big part of this team. Just hasn't really showed up as a big contributor yet. He has been steady and calm as a point guard, though, which I like to see. Paul Atkinson is the last rotation guy I haven't talked about. Thought this was his worst game of the year, and he had 12 and 6. So I'm okay with that. Paul really got going towards the end, but in the first half it looked like he just lost his touch completely. It looked like he was limping a little bit. I think he got a little banged up last night with that knee. I saw he had a brace on. But I think Paul will be fine. He was fine tonight for what they were. I mean, guys were certainly worse than him in the first half, but they're going to need him to be steady in times like that, and I think he will be once he's 100% healthy. Hopefully he's good enough to make an impact tomorrow. So we'll see what the verdict is on Paul Atkinson tomorrow and how he can impact the game then. But that's kind of all I have. Wanted to also touch on Nate Laszewski's rebounding. I think that's been the most quiet, underrated development of the year. 15 rebounds tonight. It is a D2 team. I'll preface it with that. But like every game this year, I think every game this year he's had double-digit rebounds, which is definitely something that if you told me would at the start of the season, I would not have believed. He's averaging 10 rebounds. Let me see. The first game he had 8. Oh, he didn't even have double-digit rebounds last night, but he had 8, 16, 7, and 15. I will take that all year from Nate. If you told me that Nate was averaging more rebounds than points, I don't know what I would have told you, but good to see that from him. Definitely a welcome addition to what Notre Dame's trying to do. They just need to get him in the flow of the offense more. That's beating a dead horse at this point with him and Hub. Hub's going to get going at some point. He looked lost, but in the second half really got it going. So if he can carry that over, he'll be just fine. And I think he will be just fine, even if he doesn't carry it over to tomorrow. We're going to see Prentice Hub have a big game. We're going to see Nate have big games at some point this year. So not super worried about them, like I said last night. But Notre Dame I just thought was solid in every aspect in the second half. Didn't really have their best from Paul Atkinson and still found a way to put 90 points on the board. I'm fine with that. Pushed the tempo early, got clean looks. That's another note I have. They were a little sloppy on the run-outs at times, but all good. They were forcing turnovers. They were getting out and running. That's something we haven't seen much from them this year. They haven't really been able to get out of the half court, and they finally did. So hopefully that could carry over as well. This game, there's not much to take from it, to be honest. It's just good for them to get going. I wish we saw the young guys more just to kind of get an idea of what they had. But Notre Dame had a good second half, brutal first half, but nobody's going to remember that now. In March, we're not going to be even concerned about this first half. So glad to see Notre Dame ended up pulling away because I never would have heard the end of it if they didn't. my Twitter mentions are already pretty toxic this year because of basically Prentice Hub, but now they should be a little less toxic, especially if they can pull out a win tomorrow. Tomorrow is the big test for Notre Dame. They have to get out of Maui, or they have to get out of Vegas with a win against a Power 5 team, and Texas A&M is their chance. Middle of the pack SEC team, I don't know that I love the matchup. They have some good athletes. Tyrese Radford from Virginia Tech in particular, and then Jackson, I forget his first name, Quentin Jackson, I think. Their small forward is also a really good athlete, had a good game today as well. I don't love the matchup with them, but I don't think they're that great also. Notre Dame, if they play like they did in that second half, will probably beat them. But can we rely on that at this point? Probably not. So tomorrow will be the big test for them, and I'll be back for a post-game show then. Game will start at 11:30 Eastern, so expect another late post-game show. But thank you guys for watching. Wish I had more from this game, but it's a Division II opponent. I didn't want to add too much from this one. So thank you guys for watching, and I will be back tomorrow. Peace.